Who will be there when the shadows lengthen? Imagine this. You're sitting on a weathered porch swing, the wood creaking softly beneath you, a warm mug in your hands as the sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose. The world feels quieter now, slower, and you wonder, who will still be here with me when everything changes? It's a question that sneaks up on us, often ignored in the bustle of youth, only to whisper louder as the years pile on. Most don't pause to ask it until the answer's already unfolding, sometimes in ways that sting with surprise. When we're young, we collect people like wildflowers, coworkers who share a laugh, neighbors who wave over the fence, classmates who fill our days with chatter. We assume they'll stick around, a steady crowd to cheer us through life's chapters. But time, that patient sculptor, chisels away at the crowd, revealing a truth as simple as it is profound. It's not the number of friends that matters, but the ones who stay. The ones who show up when the lights dim, who listen when words falter, who care when the world forgets to. Today we're diving into a story about the 4 kinds of friends who stand the test of time, those rare souls who bring warmth to your quiet days, strength to your struggles, and a steady hand when the ground feels unsteady. These aren't the loud, fleeting connections of youth. They're deeper, woven from presence, trust, and heart. And just as important, we'll peel back the curtain on why some familiar faces, however kind, might not be the ones to lean on when life grows heavy. By the end, you might see your own circle in a fresh light, maybe even feel a tug to nurture the bonds that truly matter. So settle in with me, like we're sharing a fireside chat, and let's explore this together. 1. The friend who hears your soul. Have you ever spoken and felt the air swallow your words, unheard, unnoticed? Now picture the opposite. A friend sitting across from you, eyes soft and steady, letting your story unfold without a flicker of judgment. There's a quiet holiness in that kind of listening, a gift rarer than gold, especially as the years stretch on. In a world that rushes to interrupt, to fix, to assume it's heard enough, a friend who truly listens is a lifeline. Take Clara, an 81-year-old widow with a voice as gentle as spring rain. For years, she'd grown used to half-hearted nods, her kids too busy to linger on her tails, her neighbors offering quick smiles before darting off. She'd all but given up sharing the things that weighed on her heart. Then came Lila, a friend from decades past, rekindled over a chance meeting at the library. They sat for coffee one gray afternoon, steam curling from their cups, and Lila just listened. No glancing at her phone, no hurried advice, just a calm, open presence. Clara later said it felt like her words had finally found a home, a soft landing after years of drifting. As we age, we carry more. Memories that shimmer with joy, regrets that ache like old bruises, hopes that flicker faintly. Sometimes we don't need solutions or pep talks. We need a witness, someone to sit in the stillness, to let the silence breathe, to nod with a knowing that says, I see you. Studies tell us this kind of listening lowers stress, steadies the heart, even sharpens the mind. But the real magic? It's the peace it brings. A friend like this doesn't just hear you. They remind you your voice still echoes, your story still matters. Lila had her quirks, always wore mismatched socks, loved humming old jazz tunes under her breath, but it was her patience that made her Clara's rock. Once, when Clara rambled about a childhood Christmas long gone, Lila didn't rush her. She asked, what did the snow smell like that day? A question so small, yet it pulled Clara back to that frosty morning, the scent of pine and wonder sharp in her nose. That's the power of a listener. They don't just hold space. They help you reclaim it. But here's the catch. You've got to offer that gift too. Put down the phone, lean in, ask the questions that show you care. Because when the world quiets down, few things feel sweeter than knowing someone's there, fully there for you, and you for them. 2, the friend who remembers you. There's a warmth in the unexpected. A phone buzzing on a Tuesday afternoon, a voice saying, just wanted to see how you're doing. Not because it's your birthday, not because something's wrong, but because you crossed their mind. That's the beauty of a friend who checks in, a steady pulse in the rhythm of your days. Consider Jonah, a 76-year-old retiree who traded city noise for a sleepy town. His new neighbors were polite, waving as they mowed their lawns, but they kept their distance. His kids called on holidays, their voices warm but brief, scattered across states. Life was fine. Hobbies filled the mornings, errands the afternoons. But the evenings stretched long, shadows pooling in the corners of his small house. Then there was Milo, his old fishing pal from years back. Milo started calling every Sunday like clockwork. They'd trade bad jokes, grumble about the weather, reminisce about the time a trout nearly yanked Milo into the river. Nothing profound, yet everything to Jonah. Those calls became his anchor, a thread stitching his week together. Milo wasn't flashy. He wore the same faded cap for decades, swore by black coffee no matter the hour. But his consistency was a quiet force. Once he drove an hour just to drop off a thermos of soup when Jonah mentioned a cold. Didn't want you eating canned stuff, he'd grumbled, brushing off thanks. That's the mark of a checker in. They don't wait for a crisis. They show up because you're you, and that's enough. Science backs this up. Regular connection keeps loneliness at bay, steadies the mind, lifts the spirit. But beyond the stats, it's the rhythm that matters. A call to look forward to, a knock that breaks the silence. It says, you're not forgotten. And if you've got someone like that, you know the glow it brings. If not, start it yourself. Pick a day, reach out, make it a habit. Because in the soft repetition of care, you both find something to hold on to. 3. The friend who walks your path. As the years deepen, small talk starts to feel thin, like a threadbare shirt. You crave more, conversations that dig into the meat of life, that mirror what you hold dear. That's where a friend who shares your values comes in. Not just a buddy, but a kindred spirit who gets the why behind your days. Meet Edith, an 84-year-old with a bond as sharp as her wit. She'd spent her life teaching, filling chalkboards with lessons and kids with wonder. A retirement brought acquaintances, folks at the senior center who'd chat about bingo or the news, but they never quite clicked. Then she met Nora at a book club, a woman with a laugh like a bell and a love for ideas that matched Edith's own. They'd linger after discussions, debating philosophy over tea, challenging each other with gentle fire. It wasn't just the books, it was the way they both prized curiosity, kindness, growth. With Nora, Edith felt alive, her spirit stretching like it hadn't in years. Nora had her quirks, always carried a tiny notebook for stray thoughts, adored peppermint candies she'd press into Edith's hand, but it was her depth that bound them. Once, when Edith doubted her old lessons still mattered, Nora said, "You planted seeds, some are still growing." Simple words, but they hit like sunlight, affirming Edith's quiet purpose. That's what a values friend does. They reflect your core, nudge you forward, keep you growing even when the calendar says you're done. Research shows this kind of bond boosts satisfaction, resilience, makes you feel full. But it's more than that. It's laughing over the same truths, wrestling with the same questions. You don't need decades of history. Sometimes it's just a spark of recognition. I see you and you see me. So if you've found that soul, nurture it. If not, keep your eyes open. They might be waiting at the next table, ready to walk your path too. 4. The friend who stays through the storm. Life's highs are easy. Laughter at parties, shared hobbies, stories swapped over coffee. But when the storm rolls in, grief's heavy famine, illness's sharp bite, who's still there? That's the friend who matters most. The one who doesn't flinch when the air gets thick. Take Elias, an 87-year-old whose world shifted when his wife of 54 years passed. The house grew silent, a cavern of memories. Friends sent cards, filled the funeral pews, but soon the calls faded, the visits stopped. Most didn't know what to say, so they said nothing. Except Theo, a wiry man from their old hiking group. Theo didn't ask, "Need anything?" He just showed up, coffee in hand, sitting on Elias's sagging couch, letting the quiet settle. No platitudes, no rush, just a steady presence. Once he brought a photo from a trek they'd taken decades back, the three of them grinning against a mountain sky. "She'd hate us moping," he said, and Elias chuckled, the first real laugh in weeks. Theo was gruff, loved whittling sticks into odd shapes, grumbled about modern tech. But his loyalty was unshakable. When Elias landed in the hospital with pneumonia, Theo was there, reading the paper aloud by his bed. That's the friend who stays, not with fixes or fanfare, but with a stubborn, quiet "I'm here." Studies say this presence cuts through despair, keeps the heart steady, but you don't need numbers to feel it. It's the hand on your shoulder when words fail, the meal dropped off without fuss. Hard days pile up with age, losses, frailties, shifts you can't outrun. You don't need a crowd then. You need one who walks beside you, pace for pace. So ask, who'd sit with you in the dark? Who'd stay when others drift? That's your keeper, and maybe you can be that for someone too. Final reflections. The few who remain back in our wild, bright youth, we think numbers mean everything. How many laugh at our jokes, fill our parties, crowd our photos? But age whispers a gentler lesson. It's not the how many, it's the who. The listener who holds your truth, the checker who keeps you tethered, the kindred who sharpens your soul, the stayer who braves your storms. These are the threads that weave a life worth living, not loud or wide, but deep and true. So pause. Who are your for? Who's shown up? Not just in the sunshine, but in the rain. And who are you showing up for? Because friendship in these later years isn't a museum of memories. It's a living, breathing pact, a promise to see, to care, to stay. The road ahead can glow with meaning, not from a full house, but from a few steady hearts. Find them, hold them close. They're the ones who'll remind you always that you're never truly alone. 6. The friend who sees tomorrow. But what about the ones who don't just walk with you now, who look ahead with you too? There's a rare breed of friend who doesn't just anchor you in today, but dreams alongside you for tomorrow, no matter how many years lie behind. They see the spark in you that time can't dim, and they fan it with quiet belief. Take Hazel, an 88-year-old with hands gnarled from decades of gardening. She'd always been the green thumb of her street, coaxing roses from stubborn soil, sharing clippings with anyone who'd ask. Age slowed her steps, clouded her eyes, but her spirit still bloomed. Most friends her age swapped stories of the past. Good ones, sure, but locked in yesterday. Then came Ruby, a spry 70-something who'd moved in next door. Ruby didn't just admire Hazel's garden. She'd roll up her sleeves, dig beside her, and say things like, "What if we tried lavender here next spring?" Or "Imagine this yard in 5 years, purple everywhere." Ruby was a whirlwind, always in bright scarves, forever misplacing her glasses, but she had a knack for seeing forward. One chilly evening, as they sipped tea amid wilting petals, Ruby sketched a plan on a napkin. A community plot, Hazel's know-how teaching kids to plant. "You've got too much wisdom to keep it here," she said, tapping the table. Hazel laughed, then teared up. She hadn't thought anyone saw her as more than a relic. Ruby did. She saw tomorrow, and Hazel in it. That's the friend who sees beyond, the one who doesn't let age box you in, who believes your best isn't all behind you. They dream with you, plan with you, pull you into a future you might have stopped picturing. Hazel and Ruby spent months on that plot, laughing over muddy boots, coaxing kids to dig straight. It wasn't just dirt, it was purpose, a bridge to what's next. We all need that sometimes, a nudge to look up, to imagine. Because even at 90 beyond, there's still a tomorrow worth chasing. Find the friend who sees it with you, who says, "Let's make something new." They don't just keep you company, they keep you alive.